IdahoSports.com's 20th anniversary season and presentation of the 2017 IdahoSports.com Football Preview Show is brought to you in part by the Idaho Army National Guard. Defend what matters most. By Cable One, the face of fast. By your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. And by Project Filter, Idaho fights tobacco.
Welcome to Mountain View High School, home of the Mavericks and also home of the IdahoSports.com football preview shows. This is the 1A Division II classification, and we are at Mountain View today because they were the 5A state champs, and our goal is to move this around to a different state champ each different year. And that includes 1A Division II. Chance to include those sites in the future. Let's take a look at that graphic from last year. What a state championship game it was. The Salmon River Savages over the Kendrick Tigers. Paul, you and I were at that game, and it was the Salmon River defense that really stole the show in the second half. They wind up winning the state championship. Head coach Charlie Shepard and his kids from Riggins, they do it again. Oh, absolutely. And we kind of saw the lead up to it all year long. They have so much talent last year in Riggins. What was funny, it was after the game, the 3A game was after that, and Charlie Shepard was still walking around the sidelines with the trophy doing victory laps. Like, Coach, got it. You're up. Yep. We have talked to Charlie since then at different places, and he's just a good guy. Good guy, good coach. Great location up there. We broadcast there, I think, a couple times last year, year before. So Riggins and Salmon River High School, perennials. You know, Leighton Van Der Esch kind of brought them up a notch a few years ago, and they've continued. Charlie Shepard, or I'm sorry, Shepard, Nathan Shepard. Oh, there's been a million Shepards coming through there. You know, Tuckers and Shepards, and they're all related, and it's a big family affair up there in Riggins. But you know, looking at it this year, can they do it again? They've got the pieces to do it.
Yeah, and one of the things that Coach Shepard mentioned in the preview form that he sent in to us today is that, you know, Canyon Harper, can he continue to be one of those Salmon River players that goes on to the next level and plays collegiately? And, you know, I think the answer for a lot of people is yes. So he'll have a good opportunity this year as he enters his junior season. Yeah, he's not some little dude. He's a big kid, and he's going just into his junior year. Yeah. So that was our championship bracket brought to you by our friends at Cable One. High-speed internet, the face of fast. Let's start in District 3 with our previews here, most notably because Salmon River is a District 3 team. Council is a team that made some news lately. They'll have to forfeit their first 2 games due to some player ineligibility. Does that open the door for someone else to be that team that runs with Salmon River in the 1A Division II long pin? You know, I think Council was kind of looking at having a difficult season this year anyways. Last year they went 500 and they had JT Mahon, who's now at the University of Idaho, at their disposal. Without JT Mahon, I think they're going to struggle a lot, especially defensively. It's going to be a tough uphill battle for them in conference play, especially missing a couple of those non-conference games earlier in the season. So, you know, the Council Lumberjacks, they're going to have to battle some tough teams in this conference. You know, Garden Valley and Tri-Valley, they can hang with them on any given week. So I think really it's a battle for second behind Salmon River. That's the way I'm looking at this conference. Garden Valley is one of those teams that we haven't heard from in a little while. You know, they used to be, you know, years ago, you know, when we first started doing game streams, you know, back in 05, a couple, 3 years after that, see Garden Valley, you know, in the tournament and going, and they kind of took a little hiatus. Haven't seen them, but I think that's about to change. Tri-Valley returning, I beg your pardon, Garden Valley returning 3 all-league players, Tristan Knox, Gage Peterson, and Michael Palmer. And you may say, man, it's only 3 guys. Well, there are only 8 on the field. Yeah. And most kids usually play both ways, so almost half your starting lineup earned all conference honors last year. That's not too shabby. Yeah, and quarterback Daryl Lindstrom Peppers also returns. You mentioned Peterson in the backfield, so 2 of the guys that you really need at this level of football are back, and that's a big difference for the Wolverines. They had a pretty good season last year, starting to slowly rebound. You know, don't let the record fool you. They went 3-6, but you know they're better than that record. So I think this year, you know, them and Tri-Valley will, like I said, battle for that second spot. Paul, Tri-Valley went 3-5 last year, but they had some injuries, especially early in the year, that derailed what a lot of people thought could have been a good season. But again, you know, they bring back Jaden Minks. Hayden Akuta, the running back, is back. They bring back some good players as well. You know, and what they have going for them is that veteran offensive line. It's been a common theme in our preview shows today. Everything's built around the offensive line. I think Tri-Valley, they've got one. They've got one, and they can build around that and come back. You're right. They were a sleeper pick a year ago. You know, we talked about it.
Can't remember. They might have been one of my dark horse teams if I remember right. Didn't happen, but I think they have a lot coming back. And looking down the season, I'm sure you'll talk about it. They could do some pretty big things.
Yeah, Tri-Valley, 14 returning seniors. You mentioned they only need 8 players on the field at a time. If you've got 14 returning seniors in the 1A ranks, the chances are you're going to be a pretty good football team.
And you hope that can carry over to the growth of a program, and they're not down to like 8 kids next year on the team. That's what you certainly hope, is that you're continuing to build and get bigger and get stronger. Back to Riggins here, back to Salmon River. Paul, how do they do it? I mean, Riggins is not that big of a town, and yet they just seem to find great player after great player after great player. They're, whatever Charlie Shepard's doing up there, it's working.
And I don't think he's going to tell us. It's kind of like, hey, where'd you catch that big fish over there? He's
in
not
the
going
water.
to tell us the secret.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got a secret tunnel that he brings. I don't know, but and they're good kids too. We've talked to some of them. They come up and talk to us. They're friendly. They're good quality kids, and they're great athletes. So they're doing it right in Riggins.
Now, for our picks, as we're picking conference favorites here as we go through, I think we're all in agreement that Salmon River at this point, barring injury, probably the team to beat in the Long Pin League. Who do you put in that number 2 seat when you go into playoff time? 2 teams out of District 3, which would be the Long Pin, are going to make the playoffs. They're going to be playing postseason football in some form. I think we all have Salmon River, a team that should get one of those spots. Who's the other one?
I look at Tri-Valley. Head coach Bob Johnson returns a lot of players. You mentioned the 14 returning seniors. This Tri-Valley football team is going to be more similar to what you saw back in 2015, a 6-win team rather than a 3-win team like they were a season ago. So I fully expect Tri-Valley to be that team that really gets out there and takes the 2nd seed out of the Long Pin.
Wolverines! Garden Valley. That's my pick for this number 2 spot. Okay. They got a lot of experience coming back on both sides. We just talked about them. I think they're going to come up, and they're no one's going to derail Salmon River, like you said. But that number 2 spot, it's up for grabs, and I think Garden Valley is going to take advantage of it.
I feel almost compelled to take Cascade right now. The Ramblers is my other team, and Coach Adam Mapp saying to us earlier, he has some work to do just with numbers, getting kids healthy, getting kids acclimated, getting kids going. But going back to the Pal Sartori days when he was the head coach there with his son Jake playing on that team, and the Dimmitt boys. They've got a good history in Cascade of winning some big football games, and maybe this year won't be the year, but I think Cascade gets it going again at some point, hopefully soon. We're going to take a quick time out here on IdahoSports.com. When we come back, we'll talk about the other 1A Division II football teams. We'll go up north, we'll head south and east. We'll cover it all when we come back. IdahoSports.com, 1A Division II State Preview Show.
In the Army National Guard, you'll serve part-time to be ready to respond at all times. You'll train to master the skills and equipment used to keep the nation secure and its enemies on the run. You'll learn to be a leader and a member of a team. Become part of a time-honored tradition of vigilance and selfless service. Find your adventure at NationalGuard.com.
The future is now, with the next generation of internet speed. GigaOne from Cable One. With up to 1,000 megabits per second, now there's almost no limit to what you can do and how fast you can do it. So create now. Connect now with unsurpassed speed that lets you be you. Why wait for tomorrow? GigaOne from Cable One. The future is now.
What you waiting for?
Welcome back to IdahoSports.com. I'm Will, he's Sven, he's Paul, talking 1A Division II football here. 8-man, the smallest classification in Idaho, but don't tell these kids their games don't matter. We love them. We love going to the games.
Heck yeah.
We'll talk about some of the games that we're planning on webcasting coming up later, and it includes some of the 1A Division II 8-man. Time now, we talked about District 3. Let's head down to District 4 in Twin Falls. In terms of the 1A Division II game, 2 teams that we've become very accustomed to talking about residing down there. Lane Kirkland's Cary Panthers, and now Rick Estelle's Dietrich Blue Devils.
Yeah, and Dietrich, year in and year out, they've always got it. But they lost some players. They lost Garrett Estelle, Porter Robertson, Jake Smith. That's a lot to replace from anyone. Cary, Cary's been missing a little bit sometimes in the playoffs. They were usually semifinals, playing in the championships. I think they're going to be making a comeback this year. There's another team that I won't steal Sven's thunder on this one, but it's
he's already cursing you under his breath right now.
Lighthouse, we've gone into, we're going to be doing a Lighthouse game this year. But Dietrich, they've got a lot of holes to fill, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do that.
Well, the Cary Panthers are led by quarterback Caden Kudelka. They've got a dual threat quarterback there. It's going to make a lot of good things happen. You've got Kudelka, is the running back. Houston Hennifer is the quarterback. Got those backwards. But, Houston Hennifer and Caden Kudelka in the backfield, I don't think a lot of teams in that conference and throughout the state are really going to be able to slow them down all that well. They did lose a great senior class with Derek Baird, Toby Whitworth, and Nick D'Orazio, but I don't think it's going to matter for Cary. I think that they're a team, and I'm just going to spoil it now, I think they're going to win this conference. I think that they've got the most back. Dietrich's got good football players, but I think there's just a step or two ahead for Cary.
Something unique here, possibility of 3 new teams compared to last year in this conference is Murtaugh and Hanson, who have co-opted in the past. They have unco-opted, if you will. So both Murtaugh and Hanson will play separately this coming season in this division. And also Richfield, what's been kind of touch and go on numbers the past few years, could be touch and go for them again this year. Last year, what they did when they didn't have enough bodies, they actually co-opted with Camas County up in Fairfield. So still, here we are in August, some moving parts, some new teams, some new faces, and frankly, that makes it exciting.
No, it really does. And like you said, Cary, I guess I can spoil mine as well. I've got Cary coming out as my conference champion as well. I think they'll come out. I think Dietrich has enough to come in second. There might be a team or two down below that might make some noise, but for those top two, Cary and Dietrich, I think is what's going to come out.
I got a sleeper team out of this conference. The Camas County Mushers are going to be a really good football team this year. They return a lot. They did lose some talent, but they're getting incoming talent at the freshman ranks. They got a freshman, Alex Robles. He's going to get a lot of playing time this year at the wide receiver position, and to go along with what's a pretty good line. They Casey Hainline and Zach Reedy. Those are some guys on the fronts that are going to be good for Camas County. And I'm telling you that this football team will make the playoffs. Last year they upset North Gem. I'm going to say they'll upset 1 or 2 more teams this year. It's going to be a good team.
What's remarkable, Camas County, the smallest high school in Idaho to sponsor a football team. They are the smallest one. The Mushers up there in Fairfield, people just pull their cars right up to the field, sit on the hood.
It's awesome.
And watch the game there. Now moving over to the District 5/6 area, a new team there returning to the varsity level as well as Mackey will field a varsity team this year. You got Showband back in it for year 2. Water Springs with head coach Aaron Booth. Those teams coming in, but it's also a top of the division. Butte County with Sam Thorngren, very good team. Clark County, a lot of good players coming back there. North Gem, a lot of good players last year. Can they build off it as well? And then Rockland with Lance Freeman, how do they do coming in this year? It's a wide open group. Let's see what they can do.
That wing tee offense they play there in Butte County, they've got speed, they've got talent. Their quarterback, senior Brett Waymeyer, he's back. They got talent. At running back, Kenyon Cummins, Ty Twitchell. They got a lot of talent coming back. They were 8-4 last year. I really don't see that changing much. I think Butte County, I think the Pirates, besides being home of the Pirate Burger at Pickles Place, which might be the best hamburger ever created, they've got a great football team as well.
Yeah, I like Butte County. In this conference, they've got a good football team coming back. Rockland's going to be their primary challenger. North Gem's going to be good as well, and then beyond that, it's anybody's best guess who takes the 4th spot. I mean, I'd go with Clark County, but Mackey could be better. I know Matt's been talking to some coaches, and they've been telling him that Mackey's looking like they're going to be a better football team this year. So, as they get back to the varsity schedule, it's a good team to watch there for the Miners.
The thing that's nice is we're talking about more teams, not less team.
Yes.
Mackey is back. Hanson and Murtaugh able to split, if you will. These kinds of things, I think, are the things that need to happen. You like to see more teams, not fewer, and these divisions are testament to that.
In Idaho, you tend to see the small towns get smaller and the big schools get bigger. Unfortunately, that's just the economic way that it is. And so, to see the schools like this bringing the varsity team back, that means they've got the numbers. That means they have guys willing to come out and play some football. It's exciting to see, you're right.
Well, and it's hard for co-ops to really have all that much success when they're together. There's a lot of things that go into it. You're scheduling practices at different places all the time. You're not having a consistent coach because a lot of times they have multiple guys that are kind of in charge of everything. Murtaugh and Hanson teams that we talked about earlier, that's what they're going through. Now they separate, and I bet you one of those programs has a little bit more success than they've had recently. Murtaugh's football program, 26 losses in a row. I guarantee you that Hanson's going to win a couple games this year. Murtaugh might have some success and finally win their first game since 2014. So, you look at it, and it's what you want. You want the kids to have more success, more opportunity, all that kind of stuff, and that's what you're getting here with Hanson and Murtaugh this year.
So putting yourself out there, you've both already picked Cary in District 4. In District 5, 6 there, you guys both lean in Butte County?
I am.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Butte County, just more depth than most other schools, and that's a lot due to their numbers. They have, fairly high numbers for 182. They'll probably move up here in the next classification cycle. So that's just something that Butte County has that not everybody has is depth.
Moving on now to the District 1/2 White Star League, the District 2 White Pine League, as well as the North Star League from District 1, combining a couple of years ago to create one league. Kendrick went to the state championship game last year. They returned some good players. Quarterback Jerry Gorbett returns. They also return a couple of pretty good offensive linemen in Kendrick as well. They do lose some firepower. Hayden Deeds, an all-state player, back for Kendrick. Kendrick and Deary appear to be kind of the consensus. These are who a lot of the teams are looking at as the top two teams.
Yeah, how about Kendrick? They lost defensive end and tight end Wyatt Harden, running backs Blake Marker and Mason Hewitt. But who do they return? They return a guy that had 17 sacks last year in Hayden Deeds. That's the best stat line I read in any of these previews. When you got a guy, 17 sacks, that's fantastic. And you go beyond that, they got their quarterback back. Jerry Gorbett, he's going to be the single collar. He'll keep the offense going in the right direction. He had 30 passing touchdowns last year. So, the Kendrick Tigers, they're going to be a tough out. Deary still looking for the head coach, because Doug Henderson left to accept an administrative position in Moscow this offseason. So I think Kendrick is kind of in the driver's seat due to the consistency of some of the guys that they return, and then also the fact that they've had the stability of having Zane Hobart there coaching them every day during the offseason. They don't have to worry about that like Deary, their primary challenger, does.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I'm looking at who I would pick there, and I've got Kendrick as champion and runner-up Deary. Even with the question marks in Deary right now, they still have the players. The players know how to play football. They need that leader to come in as the coach. But if he comes in, lets the kids play football, I don't see them doing any less than second place.
Do you see a team out there among the others, your Clark Forks, your Lakesides, your Mullins, speaking of teams getting back to the 8-man varsity level, Stetson Spooner and the Mullen Tigers getting back, do you see any of those teams able to maybe jump up and challenge for one of those two playoff spots?
The only team that I can really see in this conference coming out and really having an opportunity to leapfrog, given some breaks with, injuries or, some good luck in games, whatever it is, I see Lewis County as the team that could leapfrog potentially. But you got to remember, Lewis County, even they lost Jerry Fisher from last year. That was their best player.
Almost 2,000 yards.
Yeah. And so even though they return quarterback Landon Wall, it's going to be tough to replace all that loss. So really, to answer your question, I don't really see a team that's going to necessarily compete with Kendrick and Deary, but I see great competition from the 3 and down spots in that conference.
Lakeside, Paul, a team that they've got some good pieces on offense. They return their quarterback. They return their top running back as well. Their question has been, making the tackles on defense and making the stops. What do you see of the quote-unquote others when you get beyond Kendrick and Deary?
Like you said, Lakeside, they bring back a quarterback and a running back. That gives them consistency. And you have consistency with some of the key spots. That allows the other spots to be filled in. Bring kids in, test them out, fill those roles with kids that best fill them. I agree with Sven. I think Lewis County is probably the most qualified at this point to challenge a Kendrick and a Deary. Clark Fork, I love their mascot.
The Wampus Cats.
Yes. But other than that, I agree with everything Sven said about Lewis County.
Fisher was planning on trying to walk on at Idaho State University. I don't know that he's actually done that yet. I don't think walk-ons have reported. Well, they probably have reported by now. But if he did, I asked Coach Monty Madrell, when's the last time a kid from Lewis County, which is a Nez Perce and Highland of Craigmont, correct, co-op? I said, when's the last time a kid from there played college football? And he kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, good question, no one knows. So what a great story if he's able to walk onto the Idaho State team and represent those communities.
It's funny, I talked to one of our advertisers, Nez Perce Egg, up there, and I was talking to Janet, and she said, we were selling the all-state football games, and she said, which player from Nez Perce is in the game? And I said, it's Jerry Fisher. Oh, yeah, we'll do it for sure. People love Jerry Fisher from up there in the Lewis County area, and, I think that's a kid that's going to really impress them moving forward. He'll do something. If it's not going to Idaho State, he'll still go on, have great success in life, and that's what it's all about.
All right, guys, now it's time to who we think is going to swing the pendulum the other way. We're calling it our Toyota Going Places Turnaround Team, brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. This doesn't necessarily have to be a championship pick. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a pick that you think is a team that's going to make the playoffs. Maybe it's a team that has been stuck in the doldrums for a couple of years that you think is going like this.
I think the Camas County Mushers are my, team that's going to really impress a lot of people this year. I could see them finishing as high as second in the conference. And if they're able to do that and go into the playoffs with such a high seed, they could win a couple games and, give themselves an opportunity. There's a lot of turnover and talent in that conference, and they don't have as much turnover. And that could be a big difference at this classification. We've seen it time and time again where a team that struggled a little bit or, been 500 just suddenly leapfrogs right up to the top. And I think that's what's going to happen with Camas County this year.
The Miners, they haven't played a varsity schedule since, 2014?
Mullen, yeah.
And so Mackey is right now my going places. I mean, they've been playing a JV schedule. So now they're playing a varsity schedule. That tells me they're going places. That they're moving in the right direction. And from there, they've got tradition there. The Fighting McKelveys is always what we used to call them.
Yeah, yep.
And so,
With all the Krosh brothers.
Yes, exactly. So they know what winning is, and they want to get back to it. And so I think this is the first step in getting them head in the right direction.
I think in a very literal sense, I'll go one step farther than you, Paul, and I'm going to take the Mullen Tigers. They played 8-man 3 years ago, did not play football the year after that due to a lack of numbers, played 6-man football last year. They've got an 8-man team this year and a young man named Sky Galloway, who their head coach is very, very high on, Stetson Spooner. And Stetson played some big school, high school football in Montana. A guy by the name of Brock Osweiler was on his team, so he knows a thing or two about guys that go on to have some pretty good careers. And Coach Spooner very, very high on the potential of Sky Galloway. Maybe not this year for Mullen, but you talk about, again, is the crescendo coming or is the crescendo behind you? I think the crescendo is definitely coming for Mullen in the coming years. We're going to take a time out here on the IdahoSports.com 1A Division II preview show. When we come back, we'll hear from the director of the Idaho High School Activities Association, Ty Jones. Things going on inside and outside of the public eye when we come back.
Save on the remaining 2017s during Toyota's National Clearance Event. Plus, every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care at no additional cost.
At Toyota's National Clearance Event, you could get 0% APR financing on a 2017 RAV4. Offer ends September 5th. Toyota, let's go places.
My name's Jerry, and I smoked for 30-plus years. I was elk hunting. My left arm and my left leg started tingling on me. I nearly died, and it was enough to wake me up. Being on the top side of the grass is a good alternative to smoking. I still hunt, and now it's getting time where the grandkids are going to start going, and I want to be there for that. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW or visit projectfilter.org.
Back on IdahoSports.com, I'm Will, he's Sven, and he's Paul, the 1A Division II preview show. Paul, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the help of a lot of people, and I'm not talking about Sven and Matt Harris, our producer behind the camera there, who carried everything in while we just sat and were fanned by our other workers here.
Yes.
But sponsors and partners and
more
friends.
Grapes, please. Thank you.
Sponsors, partners, and friends helping make stuff like this possible.
Right. Oh, yeah. And you nailed it on the head. We cannot do what we do without our advertising partners, and that includes the small town mom and pops who we love, all the way up to our major sponsors. We added a couple new major sponsors this summer. Toyota. We've done quite a few things with different Toyota dealers around the state in the past, from Parker Toyota up in the Coeur d'Alene area, Teton Toyota over in eastern Idaho. I leased my car from Teton Toyota. And now Teton Toyota, they see what we do, they want to be a part of it, and so they have come on big time as a major sponsor here with IdahoSports.com, as has the Idaho Army National Guard. Same thing. They love what we do. They want to be a part of it. They wanted to partner with us to help us provide the coverage that we do. So you'll be seeing a lot more about Toyota and the Idaho Army National Guard on the website, on the webcast, everything together. Now also, Project Filter. You've seen them over the years on IdahoSports.com. They're sponsoring a brand new feature that we're launching this year, the Play of the Week, presented by Project Filter. We'll be putting a clip up on YouTube and on the website every Monday from one of the broadcasts that we did the week before. So it'll be the IdahoSports.com Play of the Week, presented by our good friends at Project Filter.
Play of the week was not the water I just kicked over, but I think it'd been sitting there for about 4 hours, so probably not very tasty at this point anyway. Idaho High School Activities Association, governing body over high school sports here in the state of Idaho. Sven, earlier this week, IdahoSports.com had a chance to catch up with Ty Jones, the executive director.
Yeah, Matt sat down with the big boss. He got the news, and here it is right here in Idaho Sports.
One of the hot button issues, one of the big topics, as you know, Ty, right now, is concussions in all sports, not just football. What are some of the things that the IHSA is doing to promote safety in high school sports?
That's one of the things that we did a few years ago is we, and we'll talk specifically about fall sports because, for the most part, the vast majority of concussions, at least for us, come from football and then soccer and volleyball and then other sports after that. Wrestling's a big one too. But we revamped our practice times and the amount of hitting that we actually do, so that we could, people weren't out there just every single day doing tackling drills and those types of things. And there's more rest involved now between practices. There's a cap on the number of hours that teams can practice and how many hours they can practice in a day. Football coaches for years have been using the 2-a-day practice model. And so what we did with that is we tweaked it to where you can still have 2-a-days, you just can't have them on consecutive days. We implemented a brand new, with the help of St. Luke's, a brand new concussion video that has Idaho-specific legislation in there. Our legislature came back with some ideas and some thoughts about what information they'd like to get out to schools, and so we added that to our concussion video, made our own, with the help of St. Luke's, and then ended up paying for a lot of the training that we had for our teachers and coaches. We added a sudden cardiac arrest course that was new last year that it's the leading killer of student athletes in the country, and not very many people talk about that. We thought that it was important that our coaches had, we know they're not doctors, but they at least need to know the signs and what to do, and we're in the process now of revamping our emergency medical plans and talking to districts about that. So we've been really busy actually with trying to give our schools and the coaches thoughts and ideas, and really it's on them, and they've done a great job a lot of them have already been doing this for years.
Another thing that seems to be a hot topic in Idaho right now is the classification system. And there is a proposal that was brought forth before the board of directors that they took very seriously regarding a change in the classification system. That ended up only being partially amended to now keeping the current system, but having a competitive equity form for schools that consistently struggle in sports. For those out there who don't know, Ty, could you explain to them kind of exactly what a competitive equity form is and how it might affect where a school falls in the classification system?
Yeah, what our board looked at, there was a two-piece proposal from the last system. One of them was, part of it dealt with free and reduced lunch numbers, and the other piece dealt with being able to, they wanted to look at ways that if you wanted to petition down, they wanted to give our board some hard facts and figures. And so they came up with a plan to where, unfortunately, these schools, if they petition down, are going to be schools that haven't had as much success over the last couple of years. And so they look at it as being an opportunity for them to maybe go down a classification, to maybe jumpstart their programs a little bit, and then get a little bit of success. And hopefully, success breeds more success. And then when they move back up, because then their numbers will improve, they'll have to move back up. They won't be able to petition down again, because they'll be a little more successful. That'll give them the opportunity to hopefully get some more kids out. Once more kids get out, more excitement in the schools. But it's something that, like I said, you don't wish it on anybody, but those are things that, it's going to give those schools that really struggle in almost all activities an opportunity it gives them another avenue to get down a classification.
I also wanted to ask you about the change in the mercy rule. Now, last year, 5A through 2A got a mercy rule for the first time, and that has been tweaked again. Can you explain to everyone kind of what exactly the change was and how the latest change in the mercy rule is going to benefit high school football in Idaho?
Well, benefit high school football depends on who you talk to, Matt. You know how that goes. I mean, it's one of those philosophical things. The mercy rule is, personally, I think it's a good rule. It allows for schools you're basically protecting schools from some coaches that don't do a very good job of managing their teams and the clocks as far as when they're up a whole bunch of points. So what's changed for the 3A and the 5A is that the mercy rule will start at the beginning of the fourth quarter. The 2A and the 4A games, it starts at the beginning of the third quarter. And essentially, that gives us 3 mercy rules because the 1A mercy rule is a little bit different, but it starts right after halftime as well. But each classification felt that, by doing that, and 40 points is the rule, that's the threshold, that's what they'd like to see in their school. And, if the classifications want to do that, ideally it'd be 1 mercy rule, but when you're dealing, you can't have the same one. 8-man and 11-man football teams have different logistics sometimes that just don't allow them to play by the exact same rules.
So we appreciate Ty taking the time to speak with Matt earlier this week. Great having him on. You can see that or hear that full interview on our website, IdahoSports.com, heading into early next week. So make sure to check that out.
Time for one last break here on the 1A 8-man Division II state preview show. When we come back, we're going to put ourselves out there a little bit, tell you who we think is going to win the state championship, who's going to get that banner to hang in their gym. Don't go anywhere. Those predictions coming up next.
Save on the remaining 2017s during Toyota's National Clearance Event. Plus, every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care at no additional cost.
At Toyota's National Clearance Event, you could get 0% APR financing on a 2017 RAV4. Offer ends September 5th. Toyota, let's go places.
In the Army National Guard, you'll serve part-time to be ready to respond at all times. You'll train to master the skills and equipment used to keep the nation secure and its enemies on the run. You'll learn to be a leader and a member of a team. Become part of a time-honored tradition of vigilance and selfless service. Find your adventure at NationalGuard.com.
Back on IdahoSports.com, I'm Will. This is Sven. That's Paul down there. 1A Division II state preview show here on IdahoSports.com. We did one for every classification from the big schools all the way down to 1A Division II because they're all the same to us. Time now to pick our champ. Championship game picks brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard. Defend what matters most. We're going to start with Sven because up until about 8 seconds ago, you didn't know who you were going to pick. In fact, you said you were just going to name everyone. We're not going to allow you to do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who's winning it?
Battle Royal.
Savages. Salmon River is going to head out there, and they're going to win this state championship back-to-back years.
Isn't that kind of like picking the New England Patriots or the Golden State Warriors?
I don't really care. When I'm right, I'm right. And I'm going to be right about both these championships I picked so far today. So that's all that matters to me. Salmon River is going to win it. I will say this. There are 2 teams that can challenge them here in the state of Idaho. The Kendrick Tigers can give them a good run for their money, and I like the Cary Panthers.
Okay, good.
So, out of the teams, that's kind of what I'm looking at. So Paul's going to pick Deary.
Where am I going? I'll buy you dinner if you pick the right town.
Arco.
Wrong.
Oh.
I'm going to think of a new one. Rockland. Rockland is where I'm going with that. Now, they have returners, 2 to 3 year returning starters for Rockland coming back. A lot of experience, a lot of talent. I see them as the team that's going to play Salmon River in the championship. But alas, the Fighting Shepherds are going to come out victorious. Another state tournament win for Salmon River. Yeah, I said alas.
That means, unfortunately.
Well, if you're any other team in the state, it's alas.
Oh, Paul, you're so disappointing. You as a person.
Well, the tent's falling on Matt right now, so we better wrap this thing up. That's all right.
No, I think we should drag this out, see how long he can hold the tent up. If you won't go to Arco, I will. I'm going to take Butte County as my 1A Division II state champion. I think there's a pretty good chance that they will be playing Salmon River in that game.
Very good chance.
But I like the Pirates. I'm going to take the Pirates to win the 1A Division II state championship. Week 1 before week 11, 12, 13, 14. We got to start at the beginning. What are some of the big matchups we have coming up early, live and free on IdahoSports.com?
Well, we got a lot of games that opening weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the 24th, 25th, 26th. A lot of 4A, 3A, 5A that you see there. Go to the next one, September 1st, 7th, and the 8th, the 9th. We've got Prairie, Genesee coming in as far as 1As go. Salmon River at Prairie. That's going to be a good one.
Should be a great matchup.
I wish I could be. I'll be up there for earlier. We'll be doing Clearwater, Wallace, and Prairie, Genesee, like I mentioned. But that one's going to be a very good game, Salmon River, Prairie. Now, we've scheduled the first half of the season up on IdahoSports.com. You can see it through about September 23rd. About the middle of September, we'll be scheduling the rest of the season once we see how the teams are shaking out. And so keep coming back to the website. We've got a broadcast team in North Idaho, up in the Coeur d'Alene area now. And our guys in the District 2 came back. We have more broadcast teams in the Magic Valley, Eastern Idaho, more here in the Treasure Valley. It's a party here at IdahoSports.com, and it's just getting crazier this year.
People ask me from time to time, how many people watch some of those webcasts? And the numbers are really astounding. Paul, 1.2 million live viewers last year for IdahoSports.com webcast.
It's a big party. Everybody's welcome. Yeah, we had 1.2 million live viewers, doesn't include the archive. So we're very happy with that, especially last year when things changed a little bit and we switched to doing state tournaments audio. Didn't know how it was going to turn out. Turned out it was great. Our most viewed / watched webcast was the 4A championship for football, which was audio only. 19,000 plus tuned in to listen to that game. Some of the other top 10 games in there you'll see were audio as well. So we're happy with it. We know that our fans are happy with it. So moving forward, we'll be doing a lot more video webcasts for the regular season in districts. And of course, when state tournament time comes, we'll be heading right back to the audio, where we're providing those webcasts for you live and free.
Make sure you're part of the IdahoSports.com Army, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Find Idaho Sports and also like our YouTube channel, where we will have the aforementioned Play of the Week, brought to you by Project Filter, coming up this season. The best Play of the Week out of one of our webcasts. That'll be coming up as well. Want to thank everybody who made this possible. Matt sitting behind the camera and holding up the tent simultaneously. I would like to point out he is sitting under a tent, while Paul and I have been sitting out here in the sun for going on 3.5 days now.
Yeah, about that.
It's really been remarkable, and yet we keep going.
Yes,
we're
that's
gamers.
what we do.
We're troopers.
So we are the real MVPs.
Yeah, the real MVPs. Real MVPs. Sven, good work. Paul, so. You've been better, but
that's pretty much the standard I like to hold.
That's all right. Keep that bar low. I'm Will Hoenike. We appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. Make sure you watch all the other ones. A lot of football coming up. Look forward to seeing you at the field.
This has been a presentation of IdahoSports.com Game Streams. This broadcast is copyrighted to IdahoSports.com. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of this broadcast without the expressed written consent of IdahoSports.com is strictly prohibited.